What's up, y'all? It's Jay, and we're back again talking about breathing again. This time I'm going to focus on one particular subject, and I'll probably make a number of videos. And I'm going to try to make them short, where I just kind of go over each individual point of correct breathing and why you should be doing it. This time we're talking about nasal breathing and the importance of it. And, I guess I'm kind of starting at the inhale, because, that's how breathing works. You start with the inhale, your breath change, and then you exhale. And here I've got a little article, and there's many articles you can look up online about the health benefits of nasal breathing. But this particular one is by Ruth Allen, and it's called "The Health Benefits of Nose Breathing." You can look this one up for yourself, or like I said, there's many others to look at and pretty much say the same thing. I'm not going to read this whole article, but I'm going to just kind of skim over it. Here it's kind of talking about how the nose is an underrated organ. It even says here it's been greatly neglected by physicians. It gives you the negatives here of mouth breathing, such as introductive of unfiltered, poorly humidified air, upper chest breathing, which is inefficient and tiring. And if you watch my other breathing video, I talk about how upper chest breathing it triggers panic receptors, and it forces your body into a fight or flight state. Mouth breathing facilitates that, but you also heard me say to use mouth breathing sometimes, and it's there for life or death, for fight or flight. And if you're in that kind of position, if you need to take that extra breath, then you should use your mouth, because your mouth's going to pull in more air faster than your nose. Plain and simple. Chronic overbreathing, greater incidence of snoring, sleep apnea, bad breath, dental decay, gum disease, dysfunction of the jaw joint, narrowing of the dental arch, jaw, and palate. As you grow up, actually, if you breathe in the mouth all the time, like I said before, as a baby breathes naturally, like correctly for the most part. But as you grow up, you form habits, and maybe those habits aren't necessarily right. And if you grow up and you're breathing in your mouth all the time, your mouth's constantly hanging open, it causes your jaw to form incorrectly. It causes it to set incorrectly. Then you're supposed to. It makes a big difference if you're, growing up, that you keep your mouth closed and your tongue tucked in the roof of your mouth. And you can watch other studies about that, where it's talking more about how the jaw forms from holding the mouth open and the mouth breathing. It didn't really, I don't know how in depth this paper goes into it, but I just figured I'd touch on that real quick since it mentioned it. Crowded and crooked teeth, see all kind of oral problems, overbite, malocclusions, talking about all that same stuff I just mentioned. Greater potential for relapse of orthodontic corrections, dysfunctions of muscles around the jaw and lips, loss of tone, lips becoming flaccid, noisy eating, speech, swallowing problems, trauma of soft tissues in the airways, and large tonsils and adenoids. So, example of why you shouldn't mouth breathe all the time, but it is a tool, and it's there for you for a particular reason. And if your body needs to take in the air, your mouth's there to use. Okay, here's one reason why nose breathing is important. It said it imposes approximately 50% more resistance to the airstream compared to mouth breathing. This results in 10 to 20% more oxygen uptake. So what it's saying is, I mentioned a second ago that breathing in your nose is a little harder. Well, not harder unless you're congested in your nose, but nasal breathing, it offers more resistance going in. So it speeds up. So what that does is it speeds up the air being intaked into your nose. Like after it passes that point of resistance, it speeds it up. That's why it's saying it offers 10 to 20% more oxygen intake. Then it said it warms, humidifies, cleans, filters the air. Structures of the nose regulate the direction and velocity of the airstream to maximize exposure to the network of fine arteries, veins, lymphatics, nerves, and the mucus blankets. Basically what I just said. It regulates the direction and the velocity of the airstream to maximize the exposure to the arteries and veins. That's basically like a more scientific version of what I just said. It says nose breathing imposes approximately 50% more resistance to the airstream compared to mouth breathing. It results in 10 to 20% more air intake. There must be sufficient nasal resistance during inhalation to maintain elasticity of the lungs. So this is why, like, when you're doing mouth breathing, it just kind of defaults to the upper chest, and the nose breathing simplifies or makes it easier for you to do the diaphragm breathing, which would be the next step. I'm going to talk about in a different video where it's kind of, like I said, I'm going to just touch on each individual subject. This is purely nose breathing in this video. It says nose breathing results in air passing through the nasal airway being slowed down by shelf-like bony structures in the nose called terminates. And this allows the mixing of air with an amazing gas called nitric oxide. And this is like the core reason nose breathing is so important, because nitric oxide, it facilitates in your lungs accepting of the oxygen. It's supposed to be a bronchodilator and all that. It's a really important gas that you're supposed to take in when you breathe. But if you breathe in your mouth all the time, then you're never going to get the nitric oxide that your body's supposed to have. So breathing is going to be harder. It might seem harder at first to breathe in your nose, and that little bit of resistance is offered, and it shows you why the resistance is offered naturally. Even when you're not congested, there's a natural resistance when you're breathing in your nose. But this is telling you exactly why you should do it and why that resistance is being offered. It says nasal breathing as opposed to mouth breathing increases circulation, blood oxygen, carbon dioxide levels, slows the breathing rate, and improves overall lung volumes. So that's the basic synopsis there of why you should you do nose breathing as much as possible. You know what I mean? And here's another little table where it's kind of showing the benefits. Warm moistens and filters the air. Traps large particles in the nose hairs and small particles via mucous membranes. Just different ways that there's different ways it filters out crap that you're not supposed to be breathing. Facilitates the inhalation of nitric oxide. This is a vasodilator and bronchodilator that increases oxygen transport through the body. So that's the key component there. That's the main reason you should breathe in your nose all the time. All this other stuff really beneficial, but that's the main reason. You're not going to take in the property of nitric oxide to breathe correctly if you don't breathe in your nose. Helps prevent colds, flu, allergic reaction, hay fever, irritable coughing, and, you know, retains some of the exhaled air, preventing nasal dryness. Because there's a nasal cavity. You know, once you breathe in through your nose, it's not just this little little bit of an area inside your nose that you can look in and see in a mirror. There's a cavity back there that connects everything in your head, just about, from your eyes to your mouth to your throat. All that's connected with your nasal cavity. So that's what that's talking about there. Retains moisture from exhaled air, preventing nasal dryness. You know, nasal dryness leads to other health complications. It makes you more probable to get sick if you have nasal dryness. Improves the sense of smell, obviously. Regulates airflow because of nose intricate structures. Facilitates correct action of the diaphragm. Like I just said a moment ago, that's the exact thing I said a moment ago. It makes it easier to breathe the diaphragm. The diaphragm is also essential in breathing, just as much as your nose, or maybe even more so. But those two together, like, pertinent for doing proper breathing. Promotes activity of the parasympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, and calms and relaxes the body, slows the breathing in the heart, and promotes digestion. It's attributing that to nasal breathing, but that's a big part of the diaphragm breathing, because literally the pressure from your diaphragm on your digestive system when you're breathing correctly, that regulates your digestion. And like it says there, the parasympathetic nervous system, and it calms and relaxes, All that stuff's related to the diaphragm as well. And they're kind of talking about them hand in hand because they should be talked about. Even though I'm covering them as separate subjects in a short video. This short video is about nasal. I'll do another one about diaphragm breathing. But they kind of go hand in hand. Allows the correct position of the tongue. See, this is kind of what the thing I was talking about a minute ago. I didn't read it off this particular sheet, but I read it off another sheet. Like I said, there's many you can look at and kind of draw the same information. Allows the correct position of the tongue against the upper palate and the lips together, assisting formation of the natural dental arches and straight teeth. So all those dental problems that I mentioned earlier, that's all stems from you keeping your mouth open all the time and not breathing through your nose. And reduces the likelihood of snoring and apnea. And if you have snoring and apnea, you're just, it's basically a clue that you're already compromised your breathing, and you're not breathing very healthily, and you're negatively impacting your system the way you're breathing. If you snore a lot and you have apnea, that can be not directly controlled, indirectly controlled by you kind of retraining your body how to breathe. Okay, here it touches on the importance of carbon dioxide, which is important. It says, contrary to popular belief, that carbon dioxide is not just a waste gas because it performs a number of essential functions in the body, which include the maintenance of blood pH and relaxation of the smooth muscles surrounding airways and the blood vessels. Also acts as a catalyst for the release of oxygen from the hemoglobin in the red cells, the red blood cell. So yeah, of course. It says a citing implication of the study that carbon dioxide is much more than just a waste product and directly signal physiological information. And where it shows the mechanism by which happens is via connexin 26, which is a protein that in humans is encoded by a GJB gene. And is present in many tissues and organs, for example, the brain, skin, the inner ear, the liver, the uterus. During pregnancy, the discovery should be heralding a reevaluation of the potential of carbon dioxide signaling in many different processes, such as the control of blood flow, breathing, hearing, reproduction, and birth. There's only a 0.03% carbon dioxide in the atmosphere today, and healthy human beings require about 5% carbon dioxide in the alveoli of the lungs, which means the body has to produce and store carbon dioxide in the lungs and blood. So yeah, that's just another little important touch though, because people think about the breathing out or the blood in the carbon dioxide in the blood, is essential. It's not just a waste product. But all this kind of I study Systema. I kind of look at all this breathing stuff through a Systema lens, and all this same kind of stuff is taught in Systema. Just depending on where you're learning your Systema breathing from, you might have a less scientific teaching of it, and others might have a more scientific teaching of it, which is fine as long as you reach the goal of proper breathing and correcting it for your health. And as you can see, the amount of health benefits is limitless, pretty much. And down here it's talking about nitric oxide a little bit before we end this short video. It says the gas that often regarded as an environmental pollutant. However, in 1998, 3 American scientists were awarded a Nobel Prize for their discoveries concerning nitric oxide as a signaling molecule in the cardiovascular system. The scientists originally named the gas endothelium-derived relaxing factor because they discovered that the continuous generation of it occurs in the endothelium of blood vessels, sometimes later EDRF, and identified as nitric oxide. Enzymes responsible for nitric oxide production have been demonstrated in the nose and in the paranasal sinuses. Nitric oxide is a potent bronchodilator, vasodilator, therefore it helps lower blood pressure and significantly increases lungs' oxygen absorbing capacity. It is also known to be antifungal, antiviral, and antibacterial. So in a world where we're running around wearing masks and we're being, I don't want to downplay something by saying we're paranoid, but if we're running around worried about our breathing and our health and catching something by breath and we're wearing masks, You need to study this. More than anything, you need to study this. Because right there it's telling you your lungs' ability to be antifungal, antiviral, and antibacterial is involved with nasal breathing and nitric oxide. There it is, straight from the horse's mouth, and this is not the only scientist or doctor saying it. You can go look at 100 different studies that say the same thing. But yeah, lungs' oxygen absorbing ability, antifungal, antiviral, antibacterial. According to Lundberg in 2008, nitric oxide from the nose and sinuses is inhaled in every breath and reaches the lungs in a more diluted form to enhance pulmonary oxygen uptake via local vasodilation. In this sense, nitric oxide may be regarded as aerocrine hormone, which is produced in the nose and sinuses and transported to the distal site of action with every inhalation. Chang in 2011 named nitric oxide the mighty molecule and noted that it is an active component in the cardiovascular, endocrine, and immune systems, and extremely versatile and significant within and throughout the human body. The fact that nitric oxide plays a significant role in the cardiovascular health is evidenced by the fact that one of the Nobel Prize winners mentioned earlier wrote a book titled No More Heart Disease, How Nitric Oxide Can Prevent or Even Reverse Heart Disease and Strokes. And here it's going to talk about changing your behavior, changing your breathing behavior. A conscious effort to ensure that people predominantly nose breathe would like to result in a healthier population and result in decrease in healthcare expenses. The earlier chronic mouth breathing is identified and easier to change to nose breathing, such as a change can be facilitated by breathing retraining. And this is where Systema comes in. And like I said in another video, I'm going to talk more about Systema. I'm going to gradually get into that. But the most important part you're going to learn from Systema is the breathing and the health benefits of breathing and relaxation. All this other benefits that it's giving you scientific terms for and it's trying to describe. Systema teaches you all of that without delving so deep into the facts of it. And people seem to think this Systema shit is fake, which is stupid. The research is there. Go look at it. You know, is it so hard to try to train yourself to breathe a little bit different? If it's going to make such a huge difference in your health and your immunity and your antiviral and your antibacterial, is it not worth trying to actively breathe in your nose until you can retrain your body to do it on its own? So I don't see why people have such a hard time with it. I know it's a little hard to get started with, because, you know, I started somewhere, you know what I mean? And nose breathing wasn't hard to do all the time if you're not used to doing it. But if you consciously think about doing it all the time and you're catching yourself slipping up and you're constantly correcting yourself, you can get it. Now, you can get all these same health benefits it tells you here without necessarily knowing the science behind it. But if you wanted to know the science behind it, this is kind of why I'm doing this video, to show you exactly why the breathing's so important, and the techniques taught by something like Systema or other breathing techniques such as the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu burst breathing or any of those breathing exercises that are proved to have been beneficial and healthy. This is the reason why. This scientific information presented here and other places. But yeah, it's talking about breath retraining. Simple process and identify incorrect breathing habits, replacing them with correct ones. The best known form of breathing retraining are the Buteyko method, the Papworth method, the pranayama, which is some yoga. And none of this stuff I've studied, but I have studied Systema, and Systema touches on all this and others, such as they put heavy emphasis on the breath change and how your body movement and your form affects your breath and vice versa. They go in pretty deep, but not just in a scientific fact mode. You know what I'm saying? They're delivering it in a kind of Systema is referred to as a martial art, but really it should be viewed as like a health thing, you know, and a very baseline health thing where it kind of teaches you how not only correct breathing, but how to properly relax your body and not wear your body out, not wear your joints out, your muscles, all that. And find correct patterns of movement and action and ways to live and move without wearing your body out so fast. That way when you're an old man, your body's, or you're an old woman, your body's not just completely destroyed because you've been misusing your joints the whole time. You've been misusing your breath the whole time. You're trying to get all that corrected before you get old. And even as somebody that's debilitated or sick, or an old man, that's another thing that Systema is really good for. Is it doesn't require a certain physical fitness level. Somebody that's injured, sick, anybody could start doing this, no problem. Just sitting in your chair, you can start doing this stuff. So there's your pretty much. This is like the quickest paper I could find that within a few pages that kind of delves into all the scientific reasons why you should be nasal breathing. And I just wanted to share it with you guys to maybe give y'all, the concrete scientific reasons that you should be paying attention to your breathing if you're not. Because a lot of people, they don't understand that science, they're treating science as their religion. And I'm not against science, that's why I'm showing you this page here. But if science is your religion, then it takes something like this to give you a slap to the face to make you understand what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So yeah, study this stuff. I'm going to put out more videos. I'm going to do one probably about diaphragm breathing. I'm going to do one about the breath change. They're going to be short videos like this. That video's probably already went on longer than I wanted it to, but I just wanted to touch on the individual subjects of breathing, this one being the nasal breathing. I hope you learned something here. Do your further research on your own. Check out Systema breathing, check out Gracie Jiu-Jitsu burst breathing, check out Wim Hof. I've used aspects of all these breathing systems, and they all work to an extent. But the thing about it is I put the filter of Systema on it because Systema offers, I don't know. I'll have to explain to it in further videos. It offers like a lot of blanket strategies of how to treat your breathing and treat your movement and treat how you structure your body and how you don't wear your joints out and how that correct structure doesn't wear your joints out and doesn't wear your body out and keeps you long lasting and healthy as much as you can without pharmakia or whatever, inserting chemicals into your body to ensure health, because we weren't designed to operate on outside chemicals, period. And you're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. But yeah, if you watched this far, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I'll be doing more of these, and share with everybody you can, because everybody should be doing this. It's the most important thing to your health, more than a doctor, more than medicine. Breathing, nothing's more important. So I appreciate y'all hanging out and chilling with me and listening to this. We'll see y'all next time. Appreciate it.